This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Welcome to the show. This is Let's Do the Whole Thing. Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio. Emily Dean, Pierre Novelli. Text 81215. X and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Guess what? We have another guest. Is that 2 guests in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I don't even like guests. How
You
did this
can't
happen?
start the show by saying I don't even like guests.
Well, look, sometimes guests are amazing. And sometimes guests are like, you know, when you're walking and you think, am I going to stop to take this stone out of my shoe, or am I going to go all the way home? Maybe it'll work its way around to the front, a little archway under the toes, and sit there for a bit. That's what guests are generally like. Although I love Tim Key, I think he's the third funniest man on the planet.
And you liked Ross Noble. Can you establish that?
Yeah, I like Ross Noble as well. I'm just saying, you know, generally speaking, they're a pain in the foot. Yes, so I want to ask your help.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask your advice. And I had an incident this week. I don't know if you'll be able to help me with this, Emily, as much as I love you, but I feel it might be a little out of your strata.
Well, I'll leave you gentlemen to talk business.
I'll give you a clue why. I was on a bus. I was on a bus, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you two.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it happens outside of London, but I bet it does. Suddenly, I've got me headphones, earplugs, whatever they're called, multiple choice, those things you put in your ears in order to attain music or the human voice.
Yeah.
Buds.
Not buds. Bad for you, apparently, I heard.
Oh?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to that. And you hear, so you know there's an announcement on the bus. So I take my thing out, and a sign comes up that says, the bus terminates here. And a guy said next to me, said, don't get off. I said, I think we have to get off. He said, don't get off. All of you, don't get off. He said,
Mutiny.
yeah. He said,
I like all of you.
he said, when we slide that travel card across the pad, we enter into a contract with this company. If we don't get off, he has to take us to our destination. And I thought, this is brilliant, because I don't want to get off. You know, it's raining. And it's so... Why does it happen?
They, to even out the service, or there's something
To
break
even
there?
out the service, as this guy said to me, because we're on our way to Hampstead, which if you don't know is quite posh, but
Yeah.
you go through some
yeah.
less posh area, like every part of London, there's a mix-up. And this guy said to me, but what, you can't drop us here, this is in the middle of nowhere. In other words, this is nowhere near the nice place that I live.
As opposed to in central London.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually about, I suppose, a mile from where he lives. But so that people started filing off, and this guy was going, no. If we stay, I don't know if they do have to take us.
No, of course they don't.
Do they not? But he's
what
right,
would
aren't
happen?
They
They're not an ambulance.
Well, they have entered into a contract, haven't they?
You say that, some of the people look
on
like
the,
it may as well
on
be an
the front
ambulance.
of the bus, it said Hampstead Heath.
But you enter into a sort of agreement, but then they'll be able to say, well, for our own reasons, we can no longer do that.
For
Another
our
bus.
own reasons.
That's how it goes. Plenty of stuff in contracts that say that. This guy sounds like one of those sovereign citizens.
No, I was with this guy totally. I really hate when the bus just stops. It's an absolute outrage. It was like 11 o'clock at night. There was old people.
Yeah.
What did you say to the driver? Did you say, you better lawyer
I
up?
didn't talk to the driver.
Did you tell him to lawyer up?
Did this
That
guy
would be
have-
pointless.
Did this guy
People were
have a
saying, why have we stopped? He was going, I don't know. I don't know why.
Did the guy saying this have a brace of pistols across his chest and a sort of a cutlass?
I was very, very frustrated when they just stop it in the middle. I don't believe there's a reason like that.
Is it like maximum driving time? The
I
driver
think
has
that's-
to just stop.
Well, they'd have a bit more notice of that.
Yeah.
I think it's like the driver getting a text from an ex and thinking, oh, not far from here, actually. Right, everybody off.
Also, why do they have a little bag when they get off? They often have a little suitcase.
Well, I'm thinking after that experience, it might be a revolver.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Yes, I'd love if anyone can explain. I'm surprised that you've sided with the establishment, Pierre.
I think it's
I'm
more
not.
that this guy who says there's a contract is not correct. He's made that up.
I think an old person gets on this. This is standing in town. It's raining, feeling a little afraid of the world. I'm talking about me. And a bus comes beautifully lit. It's got the name of where you live on the front of it. You get on. If he'd said to me when I got on, this is not going all the way, I thought, well, that's fair, I wouldn't have got on. But to have got on and then suddenly, out of the blue, to just drop me in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. I was on a tube train. I'm sorry if you live outside of London, but let's call it a train. Suddenly there was an announcement that said, we won't be stopping at the next 9 stops.
What?
I mean, yeah.
9?
Yeah. Now, what?
That's
And then they just went
extraordinary.
straight to the final destination.
They just sailed through.
Well, you got one chance to get off, but you had to get off a long way from home, to say the least.
Or, yeah, when they suddenly go, if you're on the, again, this is very London-centric, but the Circle line, where they go, the train's going backwards now.
Do they do that?
It's going the other way now.
Oh,
This
I
is a
didn't know.
different line
No,
now.
but I think.
Well, what
I really
about-
think I'm with the people rising up. That's what I'm saying. I'm with this guy and against Novelli.
Rise up.
Novelli. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
Look, I admire. I love.
Someone's got a phone
that could
on.
be my phone
Come on,
because
culprits.
I was
Get
having
your
a few.
phones on
That's
the-
my fault. God, I have ruined this show.
I did that years ago, babe.
No, you didn't. You make it. Anyway, look, I admire spontaneity, but not in timetabling
In transport.
of transport.
No,
No.
I don't want colourful characters when it comes to timetables.
But what happened? Yeah, and this would have been your fate, Novelli. Is that some people, of course, as soon as we were told to get off the bus, they couldn't wait to be obedient. So they all got off really quite quickly.
Frank manages to present the reasonable as so unreasonable.
I honestly, I think it's outrageous to just say, right, we're stopping now. I think it's a scandal. I can't believe you guys are taking it so well. Just talking about it is making me seethe. There is a nits outbreak at my kids' school. But anyway, so... I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yes, so they all got off. I said to the guy, well, this is not going to work. I was sitting next to him in hope that we could start an enormous movement.
Yeah.
But obviously the toilet was miles away. So they all got off so quick to be open. Oh, well, come on, off we go. And off they all went up the road. And so we sat there people were arguing with the driver. I was talking to Wolfie Smith next to me about rising up.
Yeah.
And then he suddenly looks around and goes, oh, here's another bus. So another bus, the same number, had pulled up. So the people who were left, we all got on that.
Oh,
So
okay.
then we were back on a bus. And man, did I enjoy passing the obedient ones walking up the road in the rain. I just looking down from the window. Yeah, thinking, enjoy your walk, drivers' pets.
But why had they left the bus stop?
What? Because it was late at night. They probably had like half a mile. They gave up.
Did they just think, well, it's London, what are the chances of there being more than one bus?
Well, it was late. Do I have to say it 1,000 times?
Very strange behaviour to abandon.
Well, I can't believe your attitude. I'm starting to think, what do you go home by hansom cab?
I go home the way the bus drivers tell me to.
I know
Yes.
you do. I think we need to rise up. I agree. People just can't stop buses. They
I'm
just
oddly
can't.
on your side. I'm sort of somewhere between you two, but I'm oddly going towards your side simply because I hate the little self-important bag they take with them, the little briefcase the driver takes,
Yeah,
as if he's on his way to a meeting.
Yeah,
Ditch the bag.
I was waiting to get on a bus in a stop last night, and the driver went upstairs with a torch to have a look if anyone has left anything up there or stuff. I thought, just put the lights on. There's lights.
Yeah, that is odd.
Oh, it's really, we're being told to use public transport. Instead, public transport is using us.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank with Jordan, yes, our regular, has been in touch to say they've entered into a contract, man.
Yes.
Sounds a bit like the this is legal tender people.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes, I have 8 of those conversations whenever I get back from the Edinburgh Festival. Yes, but those are good people.
Yeah.
We've been taught by the establishment to think of them as annoying nerds. In fact, they're freedom fighters.
They're responsible for change. Without these people, there is no change.
Well, there's no change if it's not legal tender.
I think these people are mainly responsible for the domains of websites called things like truth.net.
You.
You know what? I've gone straight over to these people now.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really with it. You're sending me. You're driving me to these people.
Pierre
There is-
Belly ever at home swinging a rhino whip at rioters.
There is never any fun maintaining the status quo.
I went to the dentist. It was a bit of a historic moment yesterday in our family. My child, who's 11, had his first extractions
Oh, how was
at
it?
the dentist. So he had like 3 injections in the gum and 2 teeth out. It was
Really?
stressful. Ooh. He was.
I didn't know you had teeth out. They start them young.
Well, the
with
trouble is, if
extraction.
you're milkos, if they don't go, if they hang around,
pardon.
then your real ones can't come through.
Okay.
If you remember, for years, Elton John's milk hair hung around in a thin, wispy form, and eventually he got rid of it, and then his adult hair grew through.
Oh no.
So it's a bit like that.
Yeah.
So it's getting overcrowded
Okay.
in there.
Bit like your bus.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So
And your
so-
dentist, is this the celebrity dentist?
Well, my dentist is someone who was the first gig I ever did. He was also on the bill.
Do you know about this?
What?
Yeah, he's,
I thought you meant celebrity dentist as in dentist to the stars. As
no,
opposed
he's
to...
no, he
his
was a
dentist
comic.
is
He was
David
a comic.
Baddiel.
No, it isn't. No, that would be a bit marathon man.
It's insane.
So
So he was a comedian.
yeah, he still writes stuff. He wrote for
No, I know I'm alarmed as well, Pierre, when he first told me, but he is a very good dentist.
Oh.
he wrote for Griff Rhys-Jones.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
And other things that don't recommend me to a dentist, particularly.
no, he's not-
dentist has credits out the door.
he's,
I mean, I want to see some sort of degree.
But he was
or
always
medical
he was
training.
always a dentist through that period. He's always been like obsessed with dentistry whilst being a successful.
Oh, so it was a kind of Adam Kay type scenario. He had the
He
training.
didn't talk about dentistry though. His act was basically glove puppets and fooling
It
around.
was Adam Kay in reverse.
Yeah.
Can we just establish? Have you seen Paperwork? That's all I'm saying. Have you seen?
To say that he's a... I don't know, I haven't checked the walls. His
we-
walls have got pictures
Do you think-
of like Ken Dodd on them and stuff.
Do you think he likes dentistry because it is a sort of extension of the glove puppet idea? That you are his glove puppet?
Well, I think what he likes about getting me in the chair is that he can make wisecracks and I can't do my bit of it, which for me, of course, is an enormous frustration because I'm thinking of a great jump in line and I'm
Yeah.
just, oh. Sometimes, I mean, even if he's just checking them up, he just puts a load of cotton wool in there anyway so he can do his jokes. He is very lovely, but... Anyway, we got to the point where it was clear that 2 of these teeth had to come out. And then, dot. Sorry, my 3 aunties have just arrived.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, toast. My son is in the chair and he gets he's got shades on. Because my dentist I don't know if every dentist does this. So there's stuff flying about and they don't want it to fly in your
Yeah.
eyes.
We're going to find Frank saying after everything, I don't know if every dentist does this. And
No,
find out
no,
no
you've made me
dentist does
unsettled.
any of this. In
know
fact,
if
a
every
lot
de-
of comedians do.
But he's great. He's lying in the chair. You know, he's got a shock of ginger curls.
Ironic
And then he's got
curls.
shades on. And he's got one of those those little cotton wool things that looks like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. It was like being in Height Ashbury in like 1971. So anyway, he starts having a bit of he's worried. He sees the implements.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
And he starts with a small implement, and then he gets like quite a big, like a monkey wrench thing out. And Bozzy's saying, "Do you have to use that one?" He said, "Well, I've got to, because I've got to really pull it." And I said, "Shall I put some Kiss on?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, all right." So we put Kiss on. Kiss is his favourite band, and the whole mood changed. Suddenly he became brave, confident.
Ah.
Yeah. Detroit Rock City. Do-do, feel uptight on a Saturday night. And it was great. Changed everything. And we had it on really loud. See, a lot of dentists, they wouldn't.
No.
They wouldn't have that. So, and I said to him in the midst of it, "Look, I'll get you, you could have bubble tea after, just to keep, a parent's the reward system."
Yes.
It's like the old dog biscuit on the end of the nose.
Yeah.
So then we went to the bubble tea thing, and I bought him a Metallica T-shirt as well. I was so proud of him. But anyway, we went to the bubble tea. Now, last time we'd gone to the bubble tea, we went to the one near to us. Because, I'm a bit of a bubble tea enthusiast.
You love it.
Yeah.
Is it Korean, by the way? Excuse my ignorance.
Is it Korean?
Is it? I thought you might know.
Just from Hong Kong,
Oh, is
isn't
it Hong Kong? Okay, anyway.
Oh, I don't know.
Back to Frank Skinner in the studio.
I never asked about its history. I never
Well,
clicked
I'm
its
intrigued by its
history
history.
section on Wikipedia.
I'm intrigued by its history. Where are these
Etymology.
bubbles from?
Were you wearing the same sort of little glasses from the dentist in case you got shot in the eye again?
No, we just went in. And I said to the lady, "Can we have..." Boz has, he has a strawberry with passion fruit boba. And
I like the way you said Boba.
yeah, you know the boba. I called them space dumplings for years,
Yes.
but apparently their actual name is the boba.
I asked for it without those once. I went to bubble tea. I said, "Excuse me, well, I don't like balls.
No bubbles.
I don't like. I've got texture issues." And I said, "Excuse me, can I have it without the balls?"
Oh no!
And he went, "What?" And I said, "I don't like the balls. I like it, but I don't want the balls." He went, "There's bubble tea."
Yeah.
That's all it's for.
He wouldn't let me go ballless.
No, well that's crazy.
Okay.
I mean, what are you thinking of? Songs, Boba? Not I. Anyway, there was a basic fundamental problem which I find sometimes with people who are operating in shops and baristas and stuff. I'll tell you in a minute.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I've got to say, while I was at the dentist, Bars, my son, my dentist Simon hadn't heard that track yet, so he put it on. And there is a thing, he's a bit younger than me, Simon, but not much. There's a bit of a thing when John Lennon's voice comes in. If you look into the eyes of people of a certain age around, we both teared up a bit. And I said to him, "It's John." You forget we didn't actually use their surnames. So, yeah, I really like it. It's good.
Frank, you've had a great review from your gig last night. Just thought I'd pass that
go on, chuck it in. I don't mind praise for the gig. It's just praise for this show while I'm on the show.
He was second row.
Oh, yeah.
He just said it was fantastic. And there's a lot of chat about Mandy Patinkin is coming up today.
Yeah,
few
that's, so
messages
let's
about
not go into that because it's
Okay.
part of the set.
Okay.
Trade secrets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a few, so...
Oh, actually, although I did talk about this last night on stage. I was in... I was on about the bubble tea thing. Occasionally, I get one of these people serving me who talks like this.
Yes.
The super quiet people.
Yes.
Oh. And there's ambient music in there as well. And I said, I was asking someone about the tea. I knew what Boz was going to have, but I was asking about the flavours. And she said, "Oh, yeah." I said, I can't. I heard Boba. Boba. And I leaned in, and she said, "No, I was saying the matter." And I leaned in a bit, and there's only so far that a grey-haired male celebrity is prepared to lean in that situation with a female assistant before you start thinking, this is my career on the line.
What you need is a big ear trumpet.
Yeah, I need to get one of those.
To keep your face away from the quiet people. But
I felt my
close.
phone went in my pocket and I thought, I've leaned in so far to this woman. She's Bluetoothed me the Wi-Fi password. So it really, oh man.
Ironically,
quiet people.
The people who are the receptionists at my dentist are like that, and I can't hear any of the things that they say.
Well, I've adopted the what is the matter kind of tone. So if they say blah, 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 I go, what?
Yeah.
What?
I think you have to go to retired colonel.
Yeah, you have to go, this is your fault. It's not my fault.
What?
Paul the Baggy from Solihull has got in touch. Morning all. Did I hear correctly? Frank say the dentist has pictures of Ken Dodd on the wall.
That's right.
Were these after pictures? That would be like going to see a doctor with beautifully framed malpractice court judgments hanging proudly on the wall.
No, what?
It's an odd choice for a dentist.
Simon,
Ken Dodd.
Don't do this.
Simon took a mould of all his comedian customers because he wanted to make a teeth sculpture of comedians' teeth. And the jewel in the crown was to be in the crown. Hey!
That would be a good dentist. Oh,
Yes.
I'd call my dentist jewel in the crown.
Yes,
Wouldn't you?
was to be Ken Dodd's teeth, but Ken wouldn't agree.
That's because he was wanting to see some documentation.
Yeah, I hate those people, pedants.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
You know, I'm getting the fear. I was about to read this email. Full disclosure, I got the fear when I was about to read it. Do you know why? A few shows ago,
Yes.
regular readers might recall I read an email out twice.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that? And do you know, I've woken up in the middle of the night probably 4 times since that moment in a white fear, sweating.
Oh, no.
And now I'm getting the fear every time I see an email.
Well, I don't think we've read any yet, have we?
Preemptive
It's just
deja
been
vu.
me talking.
Will you promise to stop me?
Pierre did stop you, but I think we both thought...
You let me go on for a long time.
Well, because
We weren't
sometimes...
sure.
We thought it was a coincidence, someone who had a very similar
you?
turn of phrase.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have stopped you. I thought, well, it can't be the same one. It's Emily. She's a pro. Wouldn't happen.
A sign of great faith, in a way.
Exactly.
I can never move on from it. 813, I'm feeling stiff with stress, so
Go
I
on.
need you to come in.
You're making it so tempting to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't. Okay, it starts Frank. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it rings a bell.
Yeah.
I don't think Emily will join your mutiny on the buses.
Very good.
It's good. There was a film called Mutiny on the Bus.
I know, but have we read this? No.
No.
Okay, great. Frank, I don't think Emily will join your mutiny on the buses, given that about a decade ago, she was bold enough to ask a bus driver if he'd drop her off at home because she couldn't be bothered walking. And the driver obliged. This is absolutely true, by the way.
Fantastic.
You
Confidence
can't
is...
turn your back on a gesture like that.
I always think of the 12 paraffin heaters in Oldbury Woolworths when I was a child. 3 men in overalls walked into Oldbury Woolworths and in 2 or 3 journeys they loaded 12 paraffin heaters onto their van and drove off. And they were thieves, but they were thieves with such immense confidence that not even the staff questioned them.
They all just went, yeah.
They thought, well, obviously 3 blokes in overalls not going to come in and take the paraffin heaters in broad daylight illegally.
Yes.
So it's a bit like that.
Pierre, however, has some explaining to do. This is from Andy Wood, one of our regulars in, as you know, West Yorkshire, Bronte country.
What do I have to explain? I have to explain the concept of loyalty to this man, do I?
Take it up with Andy Wood.
What's he got to explain?
Well, I presume that he had a slightly different response to the bus incident.
Well, there you go. Yeah, quite right. I'm with Andy Wood on this.
Thanks for the tip.
Is this what they call peer pressure?
Oh, I'd watch that show.
Yeah, you should. That could
Oh.
be your thing. Last time Tim Keane was in, I suggested that he did like a show, like a big long show with all his best stuff in, called TK Maxx.
Has he done it yet?
Yeah, he was sniffy about it.
Well, his middle name is D. I think there's a D in there somewhere. So TDK, he didn't make enough of that in the 80s.
No, he's got titles just going to waste.
Through the Keyhole? Could be a sort of
Yeah.
colonoscopy themed show.
All his books combined into one of those box sets that you get in The Works. You know, those ones that are in like a sleeve.
Big cellophane.
That could be called Bunch of Keys.
Oh, come on.
Anyway, we should probably... well, we won't suggest them to him because he'll just be...
He
off.
won't like
Yeah,
it.
no, he
But
won't like
peer pressure.
it. He hates suggestions.
Peer pressure, I'd watch that.
Could I host a show where I gradually up the amount of money that I offer to contestants to do something horrible?
Well, you could
I keep
host...
saying to them, I think you were cool if you did it.
I think you
I
release...
think you were really cool.
And there's got to be an element of wild, dangerous animals being released on people.
Yeah.
Well, you could do a chat show in a decompression chamber called Peer Pressure, and in the end, the last remainer.
Also,
Do you remember that other
the last
TV?
remainer.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that other TV show in a decompression chamber? Cheggers Goes Pop. Remember that?
Thank God's sake.
God bless his soul.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Can I ask you a general life question?
Sure.
Yeah.
How are you on rereading books?
Oh, I do it quite frequently.
See, I used to think it was because there's so many books, so little time. It was
Yeah.
insane to reread
I
a
don't
book.
do it much at all.
I've lapsed into
Have
it.
you?
Yeah, I thought it takes all the risk. Well, it doesn't take all the risk out of it.
I think you should take laps out of that. That's got negative connotations. There's nothing wrong with rereading.
What broke you, Frank?
What broke me was I read I read 20, 30, 40 pages of a couple of rubbish books, and I thought, what I need to do is to... Oh, also, I was
It's a
in
palate cleanser.
I was in the Oxfam bookshop. I'm told that Oxfam were now the biggest booksellers in Britain.
All right.
Yeah. And I saw...
80% of them are James Patterson novels.
I bet there's a lot of Grisham.
Yeah.
I would say.
Oh, be good to know what their biggest Da Vinci codes will be.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody do a work of art based on pulping thousands of Da Vinci codes that he got from charity shops?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And then he made it into a new book. He pulped them into a new book. Yeah. Anyway,
Go on.
so I was in there and I saw an abridged penguin. I didn't see an abridged penguin. It wasn't roadkill. An abridged penguin, Life of Samuel Johnson by James Boswell. Now, I've read the full-length one of those, but that actual edition with the same cover and everything, I bought when I was a student, and it was a life changer. It changed. It really was a proper life changer. So when I saw the same edition, I had my heart rose up, and I thought, I'm going to read that again and just see. And it's still brilliant. Sometimes when I saw Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid 5 years later, it's a film I'd told everyone was brilliant, and turned out I was wrong.
Oh.
Yeah. So
And I think that you should approach it in the same way that you would a film.
I think factual is easier to reread
yeah,
because you're sort of almost
because
relearning.
you know what happens
For
anyway.
you, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think if I'm going to reread a book that's fiction with a story, it better be one hell of a story to warrant that level of.
Oh, don't you worry.
Going
There are
over
some
again.
stories out there.
Yeah, I've read.
I've reread Tinker Tailor.
But Heraclitus said that you can't step into the same river twice.
No, he told me that as well.
Yeah, because he says you're a different person and the river has moved on. And I'm a different person since I first read that book.
Yeah.
And so the book becomes a different book. You could argue that. What about that?
I bought Frank a book last week.
Did you?
You did? Oh,
We
yes,
had
you
a
did.
lovely... It was really nice, that, Frank, wasn't it?
We had a little walk.
We had a little walk, and when we were in the book section, Frank always goes straight to poetry. straight to poetry. And Frank said, we need to pay for these. Where's the man? And what I liked is a character, he looked lovely, very bookish. He said, I'm the man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah,
He said-
identified himself.
Yeah, he recognised himself as
That's the man.
and she bought me a book,
Yeah.
£2.
Oh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what was it?
Oh, it was a small W.B. Yeats collection.
Oh, very
A
nice.
terrible beauty is born.
And I got a bit
Yes.
of Coleridge for myself. Thank you.
So yeah, I'd love to know what the life is. This is a rubbish thing if I ask people what their life-changing book is. Is that a bit
No.
Radio 4? Radio
No.
Bore. Is that what it is?
God.
Is that what it is? Radio Bore.
May I just quickly interject? Oh, we have to go. The producer's giving me one of those looks.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I know.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We're getting the Tim Key questions in already.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Well, let's wait till he comes
Well,
before
I
we
am. I'm
read
just
them out.
giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
We've heard from John Hopkins,
Hopkins.
and on the subject of odd photos in waiting rooms.
Oh yeah.
He says, in the 80s, my mum used to inexplicably take me to have my hair cut at a garage. And the only photos that adorned their walls were Alan Sunderland, Leo Sayer, and comedian Lenny Bennett.
all had curly perms.
It says 3 horrendous perm wearers.
Yeah.
The perm garage.
I have to say, if I was taking a child into a garage in that period, I'd be glad if that was the only pictures on the walls.
I used to have my hair
It wasn't
cut
the
at a
curls
garage.
I'd be most worried about, let's put it that way.
I used to have my hair cut at a barber's in a garage, like next to
Really?
like a forecourt. Yeah. Is that a
Like
thing?
a forecourt? I don't like the sound of this.
No, I don't. I'm not familiar with that.
It was almost like part of the buildings around the forecourt.
My dentist has got a Cooper
He makes barrels.
section. No,
This guy's got a lot of hobbies, Frank.
he's got a Cooper section, which is like a bookcase, and it's got like a picture of Alice Cooper on it. Daisy May Cooper's book is on it. There's a Tommy Cooper model.
Sorry, this isn't your dentist again.
Yeah.
Is there any pies this man doesn't have his fingers immersed in?
Well, he's got them in the Cooper pie.
Frank Mark has been in touch. My dear Franken team. Oh, I like my dear. I like this.
Yes,
It's a bit Oscar Wilde and Bosie. An early warning to us all.
Okay.
My family and I enjoyed a villa holiday in Andalusia about
nice.
6 years ago.
He lost me at Villa.
Last year, we revisited the same holiday destination.
Yeah.
In my downtime from family holiday stuff, I enjoyed reading an exciting John le Carré spy thriller, after which my wife asked whether it was worth reading. I replied that it was indeed a good read, but somewhat derivative. I flicked to the front page to see my name inscribed there with the date 6 years earlier.
Oh, wow.
All the best, Mark.
Wow.
Gosh.
So if you,
He'd
they're
forgotten
all
he'd read it.
they're all about the endings, aren't they? Those books.
He'd forgotten he'd left the same
left-
copy in the
yes.
holiday
Yes.
home. Oh my
No,
Lord.
but that book I was on about, I went around quoting from that book. I still do it now. Me and a mate, I read it and then I gave it to my mate to read, Ralph the Ripper. And we just quoted from it all the time. It really
We're
was.
just going to let that go.
Yes.
Can you deal with this, the mate?
When you say Ripper,
Well, he fell in love with a woman,
Oh,
and
no.
he carved her name on
no.
his forearm
oh,
with a small pointy metal
a
thing.
device.
A device, yeah.
Ralph the Self-
a forearm carving device.
A forearm carving device.
okay.
Ralph the Self Ripper.
Yeah, he only ripped the ear. He was a nice, kind gentleman, but he fell big when he
Yeah.
fell in love.
Yes. That would,
friend-
if anything was going to make you change your mind about a man, it
No,
would
well,
be that.
she was furious because he'd gone to her halls of residence room
Yeah.
drunk, and there's a thing say leave a note on the door. Remember those white message
Yes.
boards
Yeah.
people used to have? So he left it with like a penknife carved into the thing. And she was absolutely furious. And I said, apparently she's furious that you did that. That was a mad thing to do.
Yes.
He said, I was drunk. I said, it's still a mad thing to do. And he said, what about this? Rolled his sleeve up and there
my
was her
Lord.
name carved into his arm.
Did they end up together?
Of course not.
Okay.
You've described him the way that people in mafias describe. As you can see, my associate here, from his carved forearm, is a passionate man filled with love.
He was a really lovely man, I must say.
Yeah.
You know, we all, even Homer nods. I don't know if you watch The Simpsons.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Pierre just asked me what drew me in about the life of Samuel Johnson, Penguin abridged version. Just pick it up and pick any page and read about a page and you'll find out. It's very funny for a start off. There's a bit where Samuel Johnson's this old guy who's a famous writer and stuff, and Boswell's this young, ambitious Scotsman who befriends him partly so he can write his biography, I think partly because he's in awe of him. And they go on a boat on the Serpentine on a Sunday morning, and Boswell takes Johnson on there because Johnson is a famously sort of scary, difficult bloke. And there's a student tradition on the
you and Denise.
Yeah. There's we did do a Boswell Johnson. Yeah, now you come to mention it. But the tradition was that students would take boats out on the Serpentine and abuse each other. They would shout insults at each other. As they went past. That was just something that happened. But Boswell didn't tell Johnson. So they went on. And a bloke called him something like a fat hog. And he said, and the doctor sat completely calmly, didn't respond to this. I couldn't understand. He said, and then another person said something like, you are the ugliest man I've ever seen. They're very basic things. Johnson still said nothing. And it became clear that Johnson was working out what was going on. And when they got to the next boat, Johnson said to the guy on it, your mother, under the pretense of keeping a bawdy house, is a receiver of stolen goods. And it's like a whole new level of insults that he went on to. It's full of stuff like that. Brilliant. Anyway, that's me advertising a book from the 18th century.
Wistful.
You're
The
doing
Guardian.
a collab with
Light
them.
Review, we used to call it, remember?
That would be a fun hashtag ad on Instagram. Hi guys, I'm here with Samuel Johnson. And we
Yeah.
Hey guys, shut up. Paid partnership with Samuel Johnson.
partnership with the estate
Hashtag
of Samuel Johnson.
My goodness. Have we heard from our beloved readers?
We have. We have this regarding Waterstones. Not paying us. This isn't a hashtag paid collab.
Well, it might be slagging them off, so let's see.
Oh, yeah. I was in Waterstones trying to read complete poetry books, as I always do.
I'll tell you my problem with Waterstones is staff picks.
Why? Why don't you like
do you-
staff picks?
Do you resent the staff picks?
Staff picks.
Hang on.
What
Are
about
this-
this one? I read this one and it said, Melanie, this book took me on a flight of fancy. I thought you were in retail, Melanie. Stick to the facts.
Oh, my God, Frank, that's so rude.
And then I found out that they're not... I was told, this could be wrong.
Don't
I'd love
tell me
to
they're
know.
not real.
No, they're not real.
No. Cynical staff picks. With
What
fake
about when
biro handwriting.
I published my first book, they said it's going to be in... should I name the shop? Yeah. W.H. Smith Top 10. I said, how do you know? They said, well, we paid for it to be in there.
Lies upon
It's a
lies.
corrupt game.
A library of lies.
Of course, they could have been lying to me. I'm not saying it's definitely true. Can you hear me winking? So, yeah, I know. It's...
I'm shocked by the staff
I'm very
pick.
shocked.
Well, I haven't been shocked since the 80s.
Okay.
Think yourselves lucky that you've still got that in you.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We've heard from Alex regarding... it's a bit of a
Alex.
previously...
Oh, yeah.
Dear Frank, Emily and Pierre, a returning listener, second-time correspondent after a 10-year listening interregnum.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Imagine not having a radio for 10 years. In search
I
of...
don't think it means they didn't have a radio.
I think that's exactly what it means.
Okay.
It was like returning home to hear old favourites such as Come Roy Cropper, Do You Know Samuel Pepys? Live, you say, and many more.
Yeah.
You may remember some 12 years ago I wrote into the show
Of course.
regarding unexpected items for a goth to purchase. Chief among them was black pudding.
I do actually remember this.
I think it's fair, yeah. Having listened back through recent podcasts, I'd like to make an entry into previously, whilst at a performance of Titus Andronicus in Stratford-upon-Avon, of all places. An older gentleman began loudly opening and eating lemon sherbets. My annoyance turned to laughter in the interval when another man, with the most restrained British politeness, asked the elderly man if he might pre-open some sweets in advance of the second half.
I love that.
I know you're not supposed to say this anymore, but I do love the English.
I bet he went, excuse me.
Might you pre-open some of your lemon
I'm
sherbet?
surprised he didn't go so far as to offer to pre-open some. I want to know the response now, though. Did he pre-open?
We need to know.
I would like to know. Alex says, I couldn't stop thinking about that moment until the final Sons in Pies scene snapped me out of it.
That would do. In fact, that's a reference to... Do you remember we talked about Theatre of Blood the other week?
I do
Oh, yes.
indeed.
And Robert Morley was a critic, and he had his dogs. He had his lovely pet
His poodles.
dogs. And they were killed and put in pies because
Was it a Titus Andronicus reference?
Yeah.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, so it was all the deaths. This actor kills all the critics who have slagged him off, and he kills them all in a Shakespearean fashion.
We had actually a previously
Give
from
me
Mark
some
about that.
ideas.
Yeah, yes. Mark emailed in saying the Vincent Price film was called The Abominable Dr. Phoebes.
No.
Or Phoebes.
Phibes.
Phibes.
There is a film called Abominable Dr. Phibes, but Theatre of Blood,
He's wrong about it.
pretty confident is an actor taking theatrical revenge
It is.
on
But it
several-
gave Mark's family a little meme, he says. Robert Morley being fed his own poodles in a pie, brackets lots of white bechamel and pink poodle.
No, Frank,
Sort of
that's
in the-
Theatre of Blood, Frank.
Yeah.
But says, in my family, if any meat pie or any meat looked somewhat suspect or underdone, we would always say, oh, poodle pie.
Oh.
That's a nice little
But, you know,
reference.
the memory plays tricks. I'm 99.99 that it was Theatre of Blood. I don't want to defibes his family.
Might be a Mandela effect. We never know. John Want has got in touch.
Yeah.
Mandela was definitely not in Theatre of Blood.
Hello, Frank, on the radio.
Can I tell you what? Something interesting about Theatre of Blood is I saw the stage version of Theatre of Blood years later, and in the original Theatre of Blood, the assistant of Vincent Price was Diana Rigg.
Yes,
and
that's
in the
it.
stage version, it was Rachel Sterling, her daughter.
Oh.
Sorry, carry on, Emily.
John Want. Hello, Frank, on the radio. Celebrity dentists. When I was a kid, my dentist, Mr. Wolf, had around his waiting room a few of the really long end credit cartoons from Esther Ranson's That's Life,
Wow,
as his son used to draw them.
impressive.
Yeah.
Don't you just love dentists?
No.
No.
Oh, I
Who's
do.
ever said that, Frank?
Well,
What a strange
maybe.
way to end the link.
Well, an extractor fan.
Oh, my God. Yeah. What? Do something.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Tim Key's in the room. Hello, Tim Key.
Hello,
Tim
Frank.
Key.
Hello.
Always
Hello,
a joy.
Hello, Pierre.
Hey, man.
Oh, I should say before we go on, sorry, that this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, Pia Novelli and Tim Key. You can text the show on 81215, follow us on X and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, email via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. I like the hat.
Thank you.
I'll tell you why I like the hat.
Go on.
Because most people who wear a baseball hat with an American baseball team on it, especially if they go East Coast, they go the Yankees.
Right.
And you've gone the Mets.
Right. I didn't know it was a baseball team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I used to be such a fan of the Mets that I have flown to New York for a long weekend and watched 4 consecutive Mets games on my own.
Really?
Yeah. So it's lovely to see that cap.
But what happened to this Mets love?
Well, what happens to so many loves in life?
It was the star that burnt too bright.
Yeah.
I think you overdid it, didn't you?
I think I did. I bought a tapestry.
Right.
Well, it's
yeah.
an embroidered.
I think you know you're in too deep into a sports team when you buy the tapestry.
I bought.
Was it a half and half tapestry?
An embroidered.
Away and home.
It was an embroidered celebration of the 1969 World Series win.
That sounds
And
lovely.
Not only have I got the tapestry, I got a picture of the manager of the Mets at that time in his office with the tapestry on his wall behind him.
Amazing.
Oh, right.
Anyway, how
Well,
are
yeah, I'm not bad. Yeah, it's like, I've heard more sort of sort of personal intros, I suppose. It drifted a bit, didn't it?
Well, don't wear the hat.
Not like tapestry-led
You should be
intros.
able to wear a hat without getting your tapestry stuff.
Don't come in with a prompt and then get sniffy about it. Look, we'll get straight down to it. Tim Key's got a new book out.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. I had an exciting moment. I had an envelope arrive yesterday. This was inside.
Oh, great.
And a handwritten card from what I consider to be the golden girl of the contemporary arts and crafts movement, Emily Juniper, who, as you know, works on all Tim's books,
Yes.
certainly of late.
She works
And
very hard on them.
and they're beautiful, beautiful.
And so is she.
Yeah, well, I've never met her, and I like it better that way because
Well, yeah.
she's like
She couldn't hand deliver it, could she?
she's an imagine. I don't think I could.
I googled her.
Did
I
you?
was intrigued.
I thought that was gossip.
She was everything I hoped. She had a Brett on top.
Did she?
That's what I wanted.
Anyway,
But
Tim,
again, we're getting very sidetracked, aren't we?
tell it.
We're getting closer to talking about me.
I'm talking about your book,
We're talking about
which,
Emily's
let's
Brett on
face it,
top.
is why you're here.
It's a
is why
spiral.
Tell us about your book.
Well, it's a book of poetry. It's called Chapters. It's a very bold yellow book, and the idea of it is that you can fit it in your pocket, in your back pocket.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was only saying to Emily in Foyle's bookshop last week, sometimes I buy books just because I think that would fit in my pocket.
Absolutely, just to get you home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you read for us? There's
Yeah.
what? Can I pick one?
Yeah.
You've probably got some you like doing, but there's
No,
one that I
no.
really took to. Coincidentally, it's on page 101.
Oh, that is a coincidence.
It's called Todd.
Is it? Right, okay, yeah, I know that one. Well, I know
I should hope you do know
I
that
know.
one.
I know.
I like this
They're all
one.
very familiar to me. Okay, Todd. It was transfer deadline day. I decided to buy Todd Cantwell from Norwich. I sold my flat and my bread maker and my House of Games carry-on suitcase and had just about enough to get him on loan. He arrived at my parents' house, so we wandered through into the garden. He was sulking, and I asked him what was up. Father came through with cordial and custard creams and took photos. What's wrong, Todd? I inquired again. He asked if I had a football, and I went and had a look in the shed.
I read that in the early hours and laughed out loud in a room with just a tiny lamp
Wow.
focused on that book. I lolled. And what's
I made the big man lol.
what's particularly wonderful about it is Todd Cantwell is a real person.
Yeah, and a brilliant player. Little will-o'-the-wisp, isn't he?
He'll be in touch, won't he?
Todd? Oh, you'd hope so.
He can't have been in many poems.
You never know who's referencing, who's reading their references. It'd be great for Todd to reach out.
Someone's got to tip off Todd.
Someone must know Todd. He lives in Glasgow, doesn't he, Todd?
Well, probably he plays for, as you say, because I should say there's a sort of there's a conceit
Oh, there is a conceit.
in this book. There's an ongoing dialogue with Golden Girl of contemporary arts and crafts scene, Emily Juniper.
Happy for you to reference her, but let's not get bogged down with her.
Bob Down, is he coming in? So anyway,
Down. He won't let Bob Down go.
no. So hold on, I think it's the end of the link. We'll come back and then you can explain the conceit, if
Yeah.
you will. It's lovely to see you, Tim.
Oh, it's lovely to see you
By
too.
the way, I know we're being a bit ironic, but I love Tim Key.
Yeah, I love Frank Skinner. And other people.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, this news just in. Sheila Edwards, the post lady, delivered my copy of Chapters just moments ago. So excited to read it.
Yeah, but I bet they didn't get a handwritten card from Emily like I did.
The great Emily Juniper.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, there are poems, fabulously funny and intriguing poems, and then there's a sort of dialogue that runs through you. What's it all about, Tim?
Well, yeah, I think I've been doing that for about, the last 3 books. Just a sort of trundling old dialogue. Often in the last 2 books with different people, including, I did have one dialogue with you in the last book.
Yes.
And now I've distilled it all down to just one constant bubbling little dialogue between me and the great Emily Juniper.
Does Emily Juniper, in reality, comment on your poems and say, I don't understand that, or you should change this, or would that be the end of what's been a very warm and productive relationship?
There's a grey area between the Emily Juniper who lives in Cornwall and the Emily Juniper that I've invented in the book.
Okay.
So there's some times where she says something and then says, oh, that's the Emily Juniper from the book who just said that, wasn't it?
Can we have another one before we go on, please?
Yes.
Yeah, which one do you want?
Well, I'm happy to let you pick, but there is another one I really like, and
good.
it's short.
Yeah.
Give
It's
us another
short.
one.
Yeah.
It's about, let me make sure, it's called Meal Deal.
Oh, yeah, got that one here. That's
Yeah.
what I've got the book opened on Meal Deal.
That is beyond coincidence.
It'd be mad for us to not read Meal Deal from this point, wouldn't
Go
it?
on.
Meal Deal. The chap in Pret said he'd give me my mocha for free if I gave his boss a dead arm and called him a twerp. I said I'd do no such thing, I'd be happy to pay. He said he'd throw in a banana and a carrot cake. I looked at the smoothies and he told me that stuff wasn't part of the deal. I bit my lip. Which one's your boss? His eyeballs twitched towards a thin, bald fellow, and I slid my Barclays Premier card back into my shirt pocket. That's me banging the desk.
Tremendous. No, that was me.
I really enjoyed. There's also another one based around Pret where you over-order.
I know. I think that's where it sort of drifts into real life. You know, when people say, where do you get your ideas? I definitely had over-ordered.
Well, I sympathise because I also cannot restrain myself in a Pret before a long train journey
Exactly.
sometimes.
I'm okay in a Pret outside of journeys.
Yeah.
But the pre-journey Pret is a little bit...
Well, I think Book
an excellent
Emily
way to happen.
says you're always going on about Pret.
Yes, and
She
actually...
does say that.
Cornwall Emily also says I'm always going on about Pret.
Frank, can I tell you my favourite opening to a poem in Tim Key's book?
Tim Peake's book as
Tim
well.
Peake. I've read that too. The first two. This is my favourite ever opening to any poem in the history of poetry.
OK, the only man for the job. There was nothing else for it. Eddie Howe was appointed as Chancellor. I think that's another slight obsession of mine, Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
I'd like to know whether he's whether he's reading the poems, because he's referenced a lot.
He should be aware.
Someone must know Eddie.
Yeah,
There
all
was
these
nothing else
guys.
for it.
But there's nothing. But Todd Cantwell, if you were going to make up someone who played for Norwich, you couldn't come up with a better name than Todd Cantwell.
No.
It's sensational. So, will these are these poems that have been live poems and have become book poems, or are they book poems that will become live poems?
Oh, good question. They're sort of a mixture. They're, in general, poems that I wrote in over the last 18 months, I think. So they're generally, I've put them on my Instagram, at Tim Key Poet, and...
Free?
What?
Free?
At that, yeah, I think so. Although, you know, you it's a tangled web, isn't it? At some point, hopefully, then someone buys the book.
What, are you suggesting he should do a Hey Guys paid collab?
Well, it's just, you know...
Who am I doing the
you're-
paid collab with, though?
Todd Cantwell.
Okay, right, yeah, I would do a paid collab with Todd Cantwell.
I don't know
yeah.
what the fee would
So
be
I'd
like.
sort of slap them up on Instagram, but that would probably mean that I quite like that poem, so then there would maybe be a chance that I would be reading it out somewhere as well. But I'd say maybe in this book, yeah, maybe about a third of them I've read out on stage. Probably no more than that.
V prolific. If I was your teacher, that's what I would write on this
The
book.
prolific, that's good, yeah. Big
Yeah.
if, of course.
Pardon?
Big if. You wouldn't be my teacher.
No. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You're all right. I thought you were calling me... You spin my nickname, Big If, at school.
Mentor,
So I was-
maybe. You could be my mentor.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I recently turned down a mentorship.
Wow.
Later.
Extraordinary thing to say.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We should say, by the way, there will be people at home thinking, I'd really like to read Tim Key's chapters. It sounds like a funny book. I love its yellowness, as you've already mentioned. Easy to find. And it has just gone live. Can you explain what that means, Tim?
I can give it a crack, definitely. So we the publication date is November the 5th. I think we thought that people would remember that because that's the same as Guy Fawkes Night.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So tie it to like an anti-Catholic oppression.
Wow, yeah, that's not how we were phrasing it in our minds, but is there a more pro-Catholic date we could have released it on?
Well, Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
No, Frank, they're going to take the book and nail it to the door of a church.
Okay, it's a lovely stocking filler, actually.
Yeah.
So then, found out I was going to come on this show, and so the book gets released tomorrow, but Emily Juniper, who's in charge of all this stuff, has clicked the button, so if people want to order it now, it's live during the show.
Okay.
And then I think she might, slam the door shut at the end of the show.
Has it got a sort of a
Go on.
domain name?
What? Are you trying to ask
like
where do people get it?
You know Lion World at London Zoo?
No, it hasn't got a domain name like Lion World.
Okay, just asking.
What's Lion World?
It's the lion section.
Oh, God, yeah, I knew it. That's inexcusable. I should have known that. Her website's called utterandpress.co.uk, and that's where the book is currently twitching.
Okay, and it is as you can tell from the two poems which I carefully selected, it is hilarious. And also, it's possible to sort of see these poems moving about and having a heartbeat through the work of the animator William Child.
The great William Child.
Yes, William Child.
Do you know William Child?
No.
Oh, go on.
No. I don't know him.
No.
But I liked his quote. It says, actually in the blurb, it says, for long-time fan William, the collaboration was something of a dream come true.
Wow. Yes, I think I
with
put
you.
together that blurb.
Yeah. See, I couldn't. I'd have been too embarrassed to say that of myself. Some people, they just put it out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love there's claymation.
Oh, yeah, this guy's crazy. He came and watched my show in Bristol maybe about 2 years ago, and then afterwards said, if you're around before you take the tour to the next town, come to the studio. And I went to his studio. There's a lot of clay in that studio.
Wow.
And a lot of famous people, they're about that size,
Can you not do that size on
I've done
radio?
it now. I've done it. And I'm not going to.
But you might have gestured 7 or 8 feet into the sky.
I might have gestured a millimetre. The point is, people can Google William Child and try and find a picture of his studio, because I'm not going to say what size these things are.
Did he used to be Billy Childish, the musician? Because it just sounds a bit of a coincidence that he's now called William Child.
Everything's a bit neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
If your surname was Child, would you change it to Child?
You see, witness protection, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, the point being, he's made 1 minute, maybe less, little tiny animations using clay of 3 of my poems, and 2 of them, I think, are released. You can find them on my Instagram at Tim Key Poet. They're beautiful. This guy is
good likeness of you.
Wowee.
I think.
Well,
do you get to keep has he given you a little model of you to keep?
Well, I can't really because of the size.
Oh God, I forgot they were 38 feet high.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
There's been some questions sent in by our readers, Tim. Would you be prepared to answer those?
Yeah, I'll rattle a few off. Go
Okay.
on.
Okay. Mr. Scary Mole has been in touch. What does the job of task consultant actually entail? And this is in regard, I presume, to your
It's
role
a
on
credit
Taskmaster.
on Taskmaster.
And that's probably where it begins and ends. It's a credit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's not much behind it.
Do you actually make
It's
any-
a ceremonial role, I think.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes Alex calls me and says, what do you think of me putting this person on the show? And I say, yeah, fair play. You do what you need to do.
Do you get to wear a chain and ermine?
Yeah. Yeah, before I take the call.
Yeah. It's a bit of a scramble when Alex's name comes up on the phone. Okay, next reader question.
Paul Jackson, would he ever do Strictly?
No, I wouldn't do Strictly.
Why not?
I don't need to say why not.
Okay. Frank often does explain why not, because he loves
I've
Strictly.
turned it down, and I wouldn't mind. I'd like to learn to dance. That'd
Yeah.
be fabulous.
But
But
out
I
of the public
will.
eye, probably.
Well, I
I
just.
think it'd be a bit exposing, you learning to dance, actually, Frank.
I don't mind looking like a terrible dancer. What I don't want to look like is a grinning fool in the background during
That is
interviews.
great. Yeah,
And I
exactly.
don't want to take part in inane VT
Yeah.
things where I pretend there's a ghost in the studio.
Exactly. These are the reasons I don't want to do it.
The dancing, I think, would be lovely. I don't mind being a bad dancer. What I don't want to be is a bad human being. Okay, next question.
Ruth Jordan, one of our regulars, would like to know if you have a favourite branch of fat face.
Oh, great, yeah.
Can you explain this reference?
I can't really, but I know that when I read my book back, I talk about fat face quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'm often in fat face in my book.
Yes.
And actually, I did find it was a quite peculiar experience last week when I went into a branch of fat face.
Is Fat Face a fast food outlet?
Wow.
No.
Is that another dig? I have
No.
lost weight.
I don't know what Fat Face... Well, you brought up Fat Face.
I brought up Fat Face as a retail chain, and then you've just hit back with.
I don't know.
Have you been eating a lot of burgers?
I don't know what they sell at Fat Face.
Clothing.
The first time I heard
What
the
are
name
necklaces?
Wilco was as in its obituary. That was the first time I came across Wilco.
Yeah, but
I don't know-
Smiggle comes up and you're all over it.
Smiggle is worth a
It's
trip.
a sort
What
of-
is Fat Face?
Well, Fat Face, it's Smiggle for clothes, basically.
Oh, okay. That sounds brilliant.
It's quite outdoorsy, Frank.
They should use that, shouldn't they?
Smiggle for clothes. Well, I think my book is Smiggle for poems.
Well, it's various and practical. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I'm going to ask you for another one after this break. If you can pick your own this time, because I feel I've imposed them on you. But finding ones that don't have the swearing in.
That's the key, isn't it, with this sort of stuff?
Yeah, but if you can do that, I'm going to give you this spell to find one.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Now, as well as Tim Key's Chapters book, which is out officially on the 5th of November, but you can get now if you go
Yes, Emily Juniper's Eased the Door Open for a moment.
on her Otter and Press website. But there are also, I've been handed, you know when you hold paper and you think, if this was blank, I'd still want to own it. It feels so beautiful.
Oh, good.
Tim Key has come to associate himself with the objet d'art. And he's bought out, who'd have thought it?
Yeah.
And he has bought out now a series of prints suitable for framing on beautiful paper, which I think, if I was trapped underground after Storm Millicent arrives at the weekend, I think I could feed on this paper for probably 3 weeks.
You would gnaw the print.
It's fibrous. That's how thick the paper is. Tell us more about these prints.
Some nice people came to my show and said they had a gallery, and they said they'd like to make the poems that I read the poems on stage off little playing cards, little scraps of.
A lot of people come to your show and make you exciting business
They
offers.
made me an offer that I can't refuse.
Yeah, well, that used to happen to me, but it was "I love you, take me in your arms." But that doesn't happen anymore. But you get actual business
I
offers.
love how romantic he's making it as well.
I get actual business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two people, they said, let's go to the pub and let's talk art. And we went to the pub, we talked art, and now, a year later, this is the result, which is a very simple idea. We just blew up the poems so they're now nice and big, but they're the same cards I read off on stage.
See, I like that. I like the authenticity of knowing that this was in your beer-soaked hand in front of a
Yeah,
live
this
audience.
would have been pulled from a pocket, read out, and thrown down onto the beer-stained floor maybe 80 times. These times. Yeah.
Flung.
Flung, sorry, yeah. Flung. My bad,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, flung.
I'm still reeling from Objet d'Art.
So how do we get our hands on... Well, you've just given me one. So
Yeah.
why am I
End
interested?
of conversation, really.
Yeah. How does anyone get one of these?
Well, again, the old Instagram at Tim Key Poet will sort of... You can get there through there.
You're in industry.
But also it's called Stowe Gallery, so you can Google that probably.
Stowe, as in Stowe on the Wold in the Cotswolds.
As in the
Well, I
school.
reckon because I went to their house where they also make them and stuff, and it did feel very much like I was in the Cotswolds. I have to be honest.
Did you do you do that thing of having a little table at your gigs afterwards where you sell your books and prints?
Oh God, that'd be pretty tragic.
Well, a lot of comedians do it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, on my tour.
Do you do it?
I did on my tour. Yeah, but that's because well, me and Emily made these books, and the show was about my last show was about lockdown, and we'd written 2 books about lockdown. So,
Might as well sell them.
if you don't flog them, I mean, there's your audience.
Well,
Yeah,
I
they're right
worked with one of your precursors, John Hegley, who was a comedy poet who was still is, but was on the circuit when I first started.
He's fantastic.
And he used to sell, he's fantastic. He used to sell one of my favourite rhymes ever. Eddie don't like furniture. If you buy him any, he'll return it you.
Wow.
Anyway, he used to sell them at the end. And I said, people like to talk, though. I said, I saw a person leave the end of the queue because they didn't want to queue anymore. That's a sale lost. He said, no, what I do, he said, because I was brought up a Catholic, I noticed that priests, when they talk to people, they put their arm on their shoulder as if it's a reassuring sign of affection, but they're actually moving them along like a conveyor belt. So there's a little tip for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was doing selling some books after a gig, and a woman came up. My partner was with me, and her mum and her sister, and a woman came up and said, do you remember me? We had a one-night stand in 1997.
Did you?
No.
Did you move
so
her along?
anyway, so did I move her
Move
along?
her along. You said, of course I do. And off you go.
Bless you, my child.
I said, well, you're not getting a cab this time.
Oh, Frank.
Anyway,
Please. What a note to end the show on.
Tim Key's book, Chapters, is available now. You can go on his website and find out about the beautiful prints. Are you doing live shows soon?
I'm just going to quickly read this poem off one of the prints.
Oh, go on.
Glen ate 9 apples. By apples I mean fags, and by 8 I mean smoked, and by 9 I mean 20. By Glen I mean me. Am I doing what, sorry?
Brilliant. Live shows?
No, having a month off, and then I'll do a couple of Christmas shows, and then sort of rebuild in the new year.
Well, in that case, I'm at the Lyric Theatre, Shaftesbury Avenue tonight,
You
and
are.
tomorrow at 5 o'clock. There's still tickets,
going,
inevitably, at
thank
the stage of my career. And come and see me. Apparently, I'm hilarious. That's what people say.
And is that to your audience or to me that you're saying that?
That's to you. Well, you're always welcome to come for free because I love you. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.